Shlamamchon, Umrichemitit. This is the second book in Qarha series, and this one is retypeset into Eastern script. I typeset it, and there was in Syria 1989 an edition that was also in Eastern script that I consulted. And books 3 and forward I'm going to leave in Western script so your eyes can adjust to those. So this is the last crutch we have to the Western script so we can be as comfortable in one script as the other. That's the goal. Well, let's get started. Hirgit Qur'ana Trayana. So, studies of reading the second. Like Yoda speak we. Hirgad Khad. Aram Kashira. Yalib Qadmaya Trayana Psikh. Aram Talia Kashira. يالب شبير كثاوى قدمايا واسلق الصدرة تريانا شواق كل مدم صدر قدمايا ها هشا ياثو بصدر تريانا آرم بصيخ بصدر هانا نخ آرم نخ طليا كشيرة. So Herget Khad, first lesson. Aram Kashira, so a diligent and successful Aram. Yalib, he learns. The feminine would be Yalpa. So you have to get used to this skapa, long A, short E. You see, first letter long A, second letter short E pattern. It's the he does it. Yalib, so if it was katil, he writes. Qatil, he kills. Mache, he strikes. Let's try to do something less violent. Bache, he cries. And then Qadmaya, first. Trayana, second. And Psikh. So he's been made glad. He's glad. Aram Talia Kashira. Aram is a successful, a diligent Talia, boy. Yalib Shapir Kthawa Qadmaya. He beautifully learned the first book. Wasliq al-Sadra Trayana. And he ascended to the second grade. Sadra literally means any kind of order. So a shopping list could be Sadra. And this is a list as in the list of grades. So he's got up to the second grade. Wasliq Sadra Trayana. Shwaq kul middim, he left everything. Id Sadra Qadmaya. Ha hasha. So you see how we use behold here. Ha, behold. Hasha, now. Behold now. So behold now in English. Ha hasha. Now behold. Remember to use that Yoda order. Yathu b'sidra trayana. He sits in the second grade. Yathu b'sidra trayana. Aram sikh b'sidra hana. Aram is happy in this grade. Nikhe Aram. Long live Aram. So it's the future. We also use it as a wish. So when we say, let thy name be holy, you'll see that Nith Qadash. And that N means he will, or it means let it be that he will. Nikhe, that he live. So it's like Viva la France, Viva Aram. Nikhe Aram, Nikhe Talia Kashira. From the top, Aram Kashira, Yalib, Qadmaya, Trayana, Psikh. Aram Talia Kashira, Yalib, Shapir, Kthawa, Qadmaya, واسلق الصدرة تريانا شواك كل مدم الصدرة قدمايا ها هشا ياثو بصدرة تريانا آرم بصيخ بصدرة هانا نخ آرم نخ طليا كشيرا. So the questions, I'll read them and you figure out the answers. Use the pause button when you need. شوالي بنا كثوثنايث. So that's in a writing fashion. كثوثنايث. منوشم يالو بهانا. What is the name of this learner, student? Manushim Yalo Pahana. Manayalib Shapir. What does he learn beautifully? Manayalib Shapir. Al-Aina Sadra Salik. What Sadra does he salik to? Aina Kthawa Ishqal. What book did he take? So that's the simple past, the preterite. Ishqal. Aina Sadra Yathu Hasha. What Sadra does he sit in now? Psi, so Psi means investigate. A Basuya is an investigator. Psi, Beth, Sade, Psi. بصير لهرقة وخاوة. خاوة show. خاوة. You can think of it like Chawa, Eve, shows sin. Chawa. Although they're not quite that related, those words. But just so you remember it, Chawa, show. Like Chawali, show me. So Chawali. Kama zaunin ahid shem. How many times is remembered the name Qadmaya? Ma zaunin ahid shem Treyana. Be'ena sirta. Sirta is a line, literally. So if I tell my daughter, don't color outside the line, I'll say warman sirta, outside of the sirta. But here they mean a line as in line 1, line 2, line 3 of the page. Be'ena sirta, it millath is the word, and here they're using a connection where they make this word short, so it connects to the next word. Millath sliq, millath yatu. So which line do you have sliq? Which lines do you have yathu? Lechtiuta, aram kashira, sliq l'sadra treyana. Hirga the train. So lesson of second. Hirga the train. Yalopa tawa. The good learner, the good student. Hirga, the lesson. So the root is he, resh, gamal, and it's to meditate on something. It's learning in that meditative fashion. We have two words. The other is drash, which is the more advanced one of argument in order to learn. But this is hirga, to, like he's doing, sit and meditate. Yadda, to know. And it's not yadda, but it's yadh. That D becomes softened. Yadda. Naqda means something clean, as in a clean white cloth. Kad, as, as. Hirga, yadda, naqda, kad. Gaya yalopa tawa. Gaya is a good student. And you notice the word is not necessary. Gaya, good student. All of them in the long form of the noun. In the skapa alap ending. Gaya yalopa tawa. Ithlik tawa kirke ukanya. He has a book, notebooks, and a reed, a pen. And a kirka comes from the word krach, to wrap. It's a bunch of papers sewn together that you can write in, nowadays probably cheaply glued. Ho kathu shapir al kirka naqda. He writes nicely on a notebook, a clean one, or on a clean notebook. Kul sapra, every morning. Yathu al kursiya, he sits on his chair. Uqare, and he reads. O kathu, au, or kathu, to write. Hirgadile, his lesson. Kul sapra yathu al kursiya uqare au kathu hirgadile. Gaya, yada, he knows. Hirgadile, his lesson. Shapir, nicely. Matau gaya. So that's a very common phrase. We even like to say, how good, how beautiful. Matau ma shapir. So that would just be like saying, yeah, that's fantastic. Matau ma shapir. Something you could easily text. Matau ma shapir. Kedqare o kathu, as he reads and as he writes. From the top. Yalopa tawa. Hirga yadha naqda kath. Gaya yalopa tawa. Ithlik thawa kirke uqanya. How kathu shapir al kirka naqda. كل صبرا ياثو والكرسي وقارا وكاثو هرقديلة جايا يضا هرقديلة شبير ماتا وجايا كذ قارا أو كاثو. So the shuale, the questions. Panna rumza naith. A rumza is a sign. So by indicating, like point or show. Aina uqanya, which is the pin. So you show your pin. Aina ukthawa, which is kthawa, book. Aina kirka, which is the notebook. Aina kursiya, which is the chair. And penna kthiltha naith. Manu shum yalo tawa. What's the name of the good student? Eka yathu kul sapra. Where does he sit every morning? Mana awith kediathu. What does he do as he sits? Almana kathu herga. On what does he write his lesson? Ara. So ara introduces a question. It's like a kind of a word we use, like the way you would put a question mark at the end of a sentence in English. We go ara. And remember, we don't have a question mark. So you'll see it here because this is kind of Europeanized punctuation, not manuscript style. But liturgically, formal writing, you would have ara, the question. Natar kirkadile naqda. Does he keep his notebook clean? Hopefully it's full of writing. Lechtheuta geya kathu herga al kirka naqda. Herga dithlata genta arabtha. Khur, look. Paya, boy's name. It's like a splendor, literally. Qaim, he rises, he stands. Khizwa, a sight. Which is a sound of pleasure. Ma paya gantha. Oh, how splendid this garden, ganta. Mattai, so it's Matthew. Mattai, khur ganta hade. Look at this garden. Ithba, there is in her, in the garden, saggi warde uhabbawe. So we have two words. One is a native Aramaic word, habbawa. Something habbu means it blossoms. So it's flowers, blossoms, habbawe. We also have the word awarda, which comes from Middle Persian. So there's no verb. You wouldn't say that a flower can warid. That would be weird. Awarda, it means a flower, specifically a rose. So that's why you have warda and habbawa. Habbawa is the more originally Semitic word. Ithba saggi warde habbawe. Ithba up ilani rame. In the garden there also are tall trees. Ha mattay qa'im gawganta. So Matthew stands up. He is standing in the genta. How qatib. So qatib is to pluck like you would a flower. How qatib warda sumaka, a red rose. Ahma shapir khizwad ganta hada. Oh, how beautiful the sight of this garden. From the top. Ganta rabtha khur paya qaim khizwa. Ahma paya gantha. Mate khur ganta hada. إثبا سجي ورد هباوة إثبا أبيلان رامه ها متى قائم مغاو جنتا هاو قاتب ورد سماقة أهما شبير خزود جنتا هاده شوالي بنا رمزة نايث أين وطاليا أيلين إنون أيلين which إنون are أيلين إنون إلاني أيلين إنون ورده بنا كثيوثا نايث مانا إذ بغنثا ديلان hours كما إلاني خزات how many trees do you see مانا وشم طليا دوغنتا مانا إذ بإيدت متاي المانا شبير خزود غانثا. Why is the sight of the garden beautiful? So this is rakil. So the cap is hard here. And that's because it means to compose. If it was a long A, skapa on the aresh would be arakhil, which would mean to ride like a horse. But this is the second form of the verb, or the second verb from the same root, and it has the double K in double cap in the middle. Arakhil, rakhil. So you notice when they say it, actually making the K sound twice. Arakhil. Arakhil tlata pedgamme al warda akh. Warda Shapira. And Rakil means to compose, to put together. And Lakhliutha, to write, Gantha Hade, Ithba Warda, Uhabawe. Hirgid Arba. Ziwa, so it's a girl's name, Ziwa, and it means like a light, like an aura. So her name is Aura. Ziwa. Ziwa Shapirtha. So beautiful Ziwa. Shintha, which is sleep. Nakhtha, which means garments, clothing, and we use it in Kthawanaya, Sapraya today as a dress, a girl's dress specifically. So it's taken on this meaning in the era of modern clothing. When someone's speaking classical Syriac, nechtha will mean a girl's dress. But in a classical text, they would speak of a man's nechtha. Today we wouldn't, hopefully, use nechtha for a man. But that has to do with Kthawanaya. Kensha, she sweeps. If it was him sweeping, like he's sweeping his wood shop, it would be kennish. But this is the feminine, kensha. Lausha, the masculine would be lawish, but this is for feminine, lausha. Ziwa bartha shapirtha. Ziwa is a beautiful girl. Kad b'sapra qeima min shintha. As in the morning she rises from sleep. Kansha ar'a dhuwaitha shapir. She sweeps the floor of the house beautifully. Ken, and then ken, and usually in the list you'd use this. Ken, lausha nachtha naqda. Then she wears a clean dress. Min bathir shathya kasad khalwa. After she drinks a cup of milk. Shaqla kthawa min samda. She takes a book from her pack. Yathba qdam dwayletha. And she sits before a table. Qarya. Khizi ha qarya hergadila. So shuale pennachthu thana'ith imat qima ziwa mshinta. Mana auda ked qima. Mana kin lausha. Mana shathya. Aika yathba. Mana auda hasha. Amrinan. So let's say it. Amrinan. Talya qaim tlita qima. So they want to go over your usage of the present masculine, present feminine. And again, we're going to have this form for masculine, like you see that right there. Skapa, long A and short E. So if it was kat, it would be kap taubeth, katil. For girl, it would be ket wa or keth ba. So you're moving to a first letter long A, second letter, first letter long A, second letter, third letter long A. Akha, lawish, khata, lausha, awa, kanish, imma, kensha, taura, ra'a, turtha, raya. Sawa yathu, sautha, yathba. And if you notice, I don't say yathwa. That's a modern thing in classical. When a syllable begins with a letter that can be softened, b'ghad, kifath letter, then if it begins the syllable, it's going to be hard. With a few exceptions, Eastern, we're going to say anwe, we're going to say khalwa. And even the khudra, those words are written that way. But it's yathba, kathba, because one syllable ends, yath, and the second syllable will begin ba, hard, because it's a new syllable. Nothing is reducing it from ushaya to rukacha. Sawa, yathu, sauta, yathba. لخثوتا زيوة زورتا كنشا أرأدويتا هرقت خمشة شابيرنا. I am beautiful. And this is a girl because it's shapira na. A boy would say shapir na. Dahwa, gold. Mahira, so it's like diligent. Rabi, so a teacher, and that has in it 4 letters, resh, tacha, beth, khwasa. So Rabbi, so like a priest, Rabbi. Qadma, she goes before someone else, or she arrives early, Qadma. Shapir Shim, the name is beautiful, so you see the masculine there, Shapir, Shim, because Shim, the word name, is a masculine noun. Shapir Shim, Shapira Na. So, a beautiful name, beautiful am I. من دهوة يقيرانا. I am more valuable than gold. أبن صدرة بصيرنا, even though in my grade I am small. برمن سجي نهيرانا, but I am very diligent. Halwet Sapra Qadmana, I go early to school, Beth Sapra, and we know she's not going to Madrashta yet. She's going to a place of those who are still learning their reading, writing, and arithmetic. They're not doing drasha. They're not sitting there with a friend arguing about philosophical or theological texts. They're going to Beth Sapra, not Madrashta. Larabi Khawray Rahmana, to my teacher and my companions I love. Khurbid Hakhan Qaymana, look at me as I arise. Laha Shapirna, and not just at my beauty, but how I arise to work, how early I am to my work. So let's try that from the top. Shapir Shim Shapirana, Min Dahwa Yaqirana, Apin Bsidra Bsirana, Bramdin Sagim Hirana, Halwet Supra Qadmana, Rabai Khawray Rahmana, Khurbiha Khan Qaymana, Laha Taw Shapirna. Let's try to say that if it was a masculine speaker. Shapir Shim Shapirna, Min Dahwa Yaqirna, Apin Bsidra Bsirna, Bramdin Sagi Mhirna, Halwet Supra Qadimna, Rabai Khawray Rahimna, Khurbi Hakhin Qaimna, La Hataw Shapirna. Herge Dishta, the sixth lesson. Katqamna, as I arise. Appay, so that means on my face, and face is always plural, appay. Rashim, he draws or he signs. Mtayu, he prepares. Sa'u, it's like he frequents or to meet up at a place. Sa'u. Kadmin shinta qaimna, as from sleep I rise. Sliwa bapay rashimna, I make the sign of the cross. Literally, I indicate the cross upon my faces. And notice, we know it's a boy speaking because a girl would say rashmana, but he says rashimna. Wathar lawishna mane, and after I put on my mana is any kind of utensil, and here obviously it's his clothing, so stuff. Shakalna kthawai waknai, I take my books and my pens. Qadam tuwalayta yatuna, I sit before a table. Qarana u kathuna, I read or I write. Ukhad kul midam tayuna, and as I prepare everything, lwath bit supre sauna, I go off to school. Sir nuhara al malipana and no amin yalub nimran, so he asks for the students to say نقبثانيت كد من شنتا قيمانا سجانيت كد من شنتا قيمينا, so to place them in the feminine and the plural. كد من شنتا قيمانا سليوب أبي رشمانا واتر لوشانا ماني وشقلنا كثاوي وقني قدام توليتا يثبنا قريانا أو كتبنا وخد كل مدم طيوانا الواثبت صبري صيوانا. And plural, كد من شنتا قيمينا سليواب أبي رشمينا واتر لوشينا ماني شغلينا كثاوي وقناي قدام توليتا يتبينا وقارنا أو كتونا وخد كل مدم طيوينا الواثبت صبري صيوينا. And plural feminine. Ked min shinta qayman. Well, he didn't ask for it, so I won't confuse things further because you won't see it in this book. Hirgad shawa. Man zawin pere, who buys fruit. So you have zawin, to buy, and then the second form of that verb would be zabin, that you see here, and the difference is that ptacha on the zen means that there has to be a complete syllable of Zain Ptacha Bet, and then a second complete syllable of Bet Zlama Nun. Zab bin. That beth is actually two beths because it's shared by the Zain from the back and from the Nun from the front. Why? Because a Ptacha is a weak vowel, whereas a Skapa is a strong, a long A. So this is Rachil, but if it was a Ptacha, it would be Rekhil. This is Rachil, so it's to ride like you would ride a horse or a mule. Rachil. This is Mza bin. We know that because it's Ptacha Beth Nun. So that Beth gets shared by two vowels. Here, this is a strong syllable, stands on its own. This stands on its own. It's Rachil. Here it's Zain Ptacha Beth, Bet Zlama Nun. So Zabin. Here it's Zawin, because you have that skapa. So, Man zawin pere, who buys fruit. Zabin, sells. Rachil, to ride, like in a saddle. Mahalich, to walk. Zawin, to buy. Hatalya, Zabin pere, a young boy sells fruit. Kul sapra Rachil Khmara, every morning he drives an ass. U Aze Kharma, and he goes to the field. Zawin Anwe Utene Chazore, and he buys grapes and figs and apples. Ha hasha ha pich min karma, and now he returns from the field. Usam al khmara salad pere, and he puts the fruit basket upon the ass. Ukhalba or ukalba, mahallich dam khmara, the dog walks before the donkey. Ha talya qare man zawin pere, and the boy calls out who is going to buy the fruit. So from the top, Man zawin pere, mzabin rachil, mahalich zawin. Hatalya mzabin pere, kul sapra rachu khmara wazl kharma. Zawin anwiv tene chazore, ahashahapich min karma, usam al khmara salid pere, u kalbam halich dam khmara. Hatalya qare, man zawin pere. Hirga dath manya. So lesson 8. Shatha, a clock or an hour. Adana, time. Ramsha, evening. Shith, 6. Ta'an, he carries as in a burden. Shatha rabtha, a great clock. Shatha naqsha tik tak, the clock strikes tick tock. Dada, so it's your paternal uncle. Ithli shatha was artha, and he's meaning like a pocket watch or wristwatch, a little watch. My wristwatch is a shatha zarta. Mayadda andan sapra ramsha, and he knows by the time of evening and morning. Kad shatha naqshat shith sapra, as the clock strikes 6 in the morning. Kul khad qaim min shinta, everyone rises from sleep. Abdada qaim min shinta, even uncle rises from sleep. Utan simde, and he takes his case. Wazal wet sapra, and he goes to the school, the primary school. Shatha, Dana, Ramsha, Shith, Ta'an. Shatha Rabtha, Shatha Naqsha, Tiq, Tak. Dada Ithli, Shatha Zorta. Bayada Dana Sapra Ramsha. Kad Shatha Naqsha, Shith Sapra. Kul Khat Qa'im Minshinta. Abdada Qa'im Minshinta. Ta'an Samda Wazal Wet Sapra. Panakhthil Tana'it. Manithli Shatha. Eika Qali Kit Naqsha. Mana yalabad min shatha. Ma shatha hasha. What time is it? Ma shatha hasha. Imet anaqish zagid hirga. Sim shmahe duket nuqsis, but the name. Sapra, Bramsha, Blilia, Bimama. Shimsha danach, so the sun rises. Sahra manhar, the moon puts its luminosity out. Shimsha Aru. So the sun goes down, sets. Shimsha Manhar. Herga, Psi Herga. So search out here in the Herga. Uchawa and show. Kma zawni ahid shim sha'atha. Kma zawni ahid shim sapra. Kma zawni ahid shim adana lechteuta. Bin shata yada adanat sapra ramsha. Herga tisha. Karma anwe basime payish taman adamma. Karma id sata wilane sata yaba anwe ilane yahu khazura basime. سوا زي كل صبرة الخرمة البايش تام أدم الرمشة سالق على إيلانة وقاتب خزورة وهابه برمشة كد سالة بيرة. So basime, which means tasty. Paish, he remains. Taman, there. Adama, until. Karma is a vineyard or a field. Itsate uilane. Sata, yaba anwe. So these are sate, they have grapes. Ilane yahu khazura basime, the trees give delicious apples. Sawa azlaku sapra al karma, the old man every morning goes to the karma. The paish tam and adamma al ramsha, that he can remain there until the evening. Saliq al ilane, and he goes up on the trees. Uqatab khazura, yes, men in the old country, they would go up on trees when they were old and grab apples. وهابخ برمشة كد سالة بيرة. لختوتم سواقات بخزورة أن من كرمة. هرقد أسرة إن عت. سعرة hair. أريخة long. قوية سماقة red. إن إثلكتاوة شابيرة. I have a beautiful book, and here he's teaching I have, you have. So let's go over the grammar first. I'll only be focusing on the first three words. Inna, I, ithli, I have. At, you, itlach. At, feminine, itlich. Who, he, itle. He, she, ithla. Yalopa, student, itle. Yalupta, female student, itla. So let's go over it. Inna ithlik thawa shapira. I have a beautiful book. At itlach qanya sumaka. You have a red pen. At itlich simdas ora. You have a small notebook. Hu itle guya rabba. He has a big ball. So like a tennis ball. Or like maybe a beach ball. He itla sa'ra aricha. She has a long hair. Yalopa itla samdas ora. The learner has a small case. Yaluptha itla sa'ra aricha. The studentess has long hair. Lachteuta kulubertha. Every girl. Itla sa'ra aricha has long hair. Herged dakhdaser. So lesson 11. Hachan, thus, Hachan qarena. Muhira, diligent. Yahil, he gives. Gil means on the side. Aw, with that youth at the end, which isn't pronounced, it means my father. And oftentimes in spoken classical, we'll say aw dil, my father. So you know, because it's silent. You know, if I just say aw, people know that that's my father. But like if you say melpan dil. So we'll say my father of mine, my teacher of mine, because we don't say like in modern, we'd use a Turkish word for father, plus we put a khwasa sound. We'd say babi, melpani. But in classical, it's just aw, melpan. So we'll say aw dil, melpan dil. And the dil also has that yud at the end. Zahya, Yalopam Hira Amar. Zaya, a diligent student, says, Inara khimna aw im. I love my father and my mother. Dad, yauli khamsha zuze. My uncle gives me 5 monies. Khath yathba algo akh. Sister sits next to brother, my brother. Khath, my sister. Saw samla, take case. Dilich, thine. Tai, come. Tihu, sit. Inna qarna, I read now. Herga dil, my lesson. What katwath, herga dilich, and you write your lesson. Ma tau yalopa darachim khata dil. How good is the student who loves his sister. And from top I'll read it. Hachen qarna, mhira yahu geu au. Zahya yalopa mhira amar. Inna rachimna awem. Then hawli khamsha zoze. Khath يتبع الجواخ خاث سوسم دديلخ وتاتيو إن قارنا هش هرجديل وآت كتوات هرجديلخ ما طويا لوبا دراخم خاتديله لختوتا ما طويا لوبا دراخم خاتديله هرجة تترسر. So lesson 12. The original books were in Syria, that's why we have this flag. I made mine in the US, and I put an Assyrian star here. Ata dilan ramta, our high flag. Atha, so it's a sign, as in any like sign, and it's used also for the flag. Merkin, so to like with the head, merkin. Khade, matha, which is a modern word for qarita, for a village. Ha'atha shapirta, behold the beautiful flag. Hadayat dilan ramta, this is our tall flag. Sima al tar adwet sapra, sima, because at is feminine, placed on the door of the school. Ukul talya rachem ata hade, every young boy loves this flag. Kul khad markin la risha, everyone bows to it the head. Ukul khad khadiba, and everyone rejoices in it. Amar, and says, Tikha tadilan ramta, Tikha matadilan rabtha. Long live our tall flag, long live also our great village. From the top, Atadilan ramta, Ata marikin khad mata. Haata shapirta haday atadilan ramta. Sima al tarrid with sapra, kul talya, arachim ata hadim. وكل خد مركن لريشة كل خد خادف بوامر تخ تديلا رمتا تخ أب ما تديلا ربتا هرجة دطلع تسر بيت الربا, a great house. السم, so walls, and it comes from ista, which is the what you would put for stucco, the mud mix. Kawe, which is the plural of kautha, meaning windows. Kawe. Darghe, being the steps. Qalida, a key. Mara Beita Hana, how big is this house? Itle Arba Isse, it has 4 walls. Itle Khad Tar'a, Tlath Kawa, it has 3 windows. Khamsha Darghe Qdam Tar'a Dila, and 5 steps before its door. Mara Tar'a Dwaita Hana, how big is the door of this house? Tar'a Rab min Kautha, the door is bigger than the window. Illa Kautha Arama min Tar'a, but the window is higher up than the door. Glida Patach Tar'a Dwaita, a key opens the door of the house. Glida Hana Patach Tar'a Dwaita Dilan, of our house. Beita Rabba Isse Kawe Darghe Glida. Marra Beita Hana Itle Arba Isse وإيتلي خاد ترقى 3 كاوي و5 درغ قدم ترقى ديلة مارب ترقى دويت هانا ترقى الرب من كوثة إلا كوثة الراما من ترقى ليدا باتغ ترقى دويتا هرقد 4 سنة أريو عشينا. So the powerful lion, Ashina, powerful, Arya, lion, Khiwatha, animals, Malka, king. Adaykhzi Arya, they see the lion, Ahmar Ramrisha Dayle, oh how tall his head. Arya Hana Akhul Basra, this lion eats meat. Amr Bghawawe, O Alatura, and he lives in the jungles or on the mountains. Arya زار من تورة, a line is smaller than Abu. إلا عاشين أب من جملة, but he is mightier even than the camel. وكل خيواته دخل من أريا, and all animals fear the lion. أريا مارد آوي, the lion is the master of the jungle. وملكة خيواته, and the king of animals. أريا ملكة آوي ومارد خيواته, from the top. أريا عاشينا, عاشينا أريا خيواته ملكة. أدي خزي أريا ما رامري شديلة. أريا هانا آخل بصرة, وعامر بغاو عاوي أو آل طورة. أريا زار من تورة العاشين أب من قملة. كل خيواته دخلة من أريا مارد عاوي ملكة خيواته. هرقد 15. إيدا سوعة, the hand and the fingers. Yamina, the right. Simala, the left. Sawa, which is the finger. Tapre, which is the ends of the fingers, the nails. Akhid, he holds, he grasps. So if you want to translate carpe diem, seize the day, it would be akhid yoma. So it's seize in that sense. Ha'ade, this. Khida ida, this is one hand. Inna ithli tartin ede, I have two hands. Idad yamina, idad samala. Kul ida idba khida tapra. Every hand has upon it one fingernail. We hope for more than that, but at least you've got that one. Khida tapra. I'd say khamish tapra, but he has khida tapra. Biyad ida, by the hand. Awidna kul midam. I do everything with my hands, right? Biyad ida awidna kul midam. Ba akhidna laqanya, with it I grab the pen. Ked kathuna, as I write. أو الختاوة كد قارنة, or the book as I write. From the top, إيدا وسوء, يمينة سمالة سوء طبر أخد. هذا خدا إيدا. إن إثلي ترتن إيدا يمينة إيدا سمالة كل إيدا إيتبا خدا طبرة. مياد إيدا عودنا كل مدم, با أخدنا لقنيا كد كاثونا, أو الختاوة كد قارنة. لختوتا كل إيدا إتبا خمش سوا. So next I'll finish the end of this book and then we can do it in the Western script. مشيخة موارخ الخون بوشون بشلامة.